There are so many smart glasses out there that it can be pretty difficult to find the good ones between them. And that is why we are going to be talking about the best smart glasses that you can get and what the important things are that you need to know before you buy them. Now, to start it off, we will be putting these spectacles into 3 different categories. Those are your standard smart glasses, display glasses, and even some true AR glasses too. So let's start it off with those standard smart glasses first. And by far the most popular one within this category are the Ray-Ban Meta Gen 2s, since these can be used to take photos in up to 4K thanks to its 12 megapixel camera, as well as shoot normal videos, slow-mo, or even time-lapse. Although, those are kept at a max quality of 3K in 30 frames per second, while also having the option to film at 1080p at 60 frames per second instead. And that all while keeping the typical Ray-Ban look without adding any bulk to it. But its main feature by far is the integrated Meta AI that you can use to do things like sending messages to your friends, pick up calls, or even listen to your favorite music through its built-in speakers. And you can also ask it questions about what you're looking at, for example, or even use the live translation function when you're talking with someone in a different language. Now besides, the Ray-Ban Metas rock an 8-hour battery life on a single charge with another 48 hours to go with the included case. And maybe most importantly is that besides the 3 different models and bunch of color options that you can choose from, the total price of the glasses comes in at $379. Although, this does go up if you choose those transition optics or if you want to add your own prescription lenses to it. Which gets us to the next glass we should talk about, and those are the 5 Eagles. Because these come in with nearly the same identical 12 megapixel camera, and with the only difference being that their video is capped at 30 frames per second. But instead of the previously mentioned Meta AI, this one has the good old ChatGPT and Google Gemini running it. Although, there is one downside though, and that is that the battery is nearly halved at 4.5 hours on a charge. And while on paper, these specs are almost identical, the costs of these are about $520. So another option within this category would be the Oakley Vanguards. And at first glance, you can probably directly see that these are made with sports in mind. And that comes back in the built-in tech too, because these have a bigger field of view compared to the Ray-Ban Metas, while still being able to capture that 3K video at the same frame rate. But on top of that, they have an increased battery life of 9 hours and a new customizable action button that can come in handy while you're in the middle of a run, for example. And lastly, they come with some extra water and dust resistance that is definitely needed in these kind of situations. But they also cost more at $499. And something to keep in mind is that you cannot add prescription optics to these at all. But moving on, we get to the next category, which are display glasses. And a popular minimalistic option for this is the Even G1. Because they somehow managed to keep its sleek design while putting 2 monochrome green screens in its lenses. And these can show you things like a notification, a teleprompter, or even directions on a map while using your voice for input. Now, while the resolution though on its single color screen is nothing groundbreaking, it does get the job done without adding too much bulk to the frames. Although, it is missing the cameras here, so you won't be able to take any photos or videos with it. And secondly, the G1 also doesn't have any built-in speakers, so listening to music here or reading your prompts out loud are also a no-go. Now, the Even G1 frames comes in 2 models and 3 colors and starts at around $600. And just like before, they do have the option to add some prescription optics to them, but they come at an additional cost. So another possibility within this category would be the Rokid Glasses instead, because while these still have the same dual-eye monochrome display, they do have that 12 megapixel camera to take photos and videos, while also having some built-in speakers inside it to listen to music. And that makes these seem like a great combination of the smart functions from something like your Ray-Bans, but then in combination with that dual screen for some extra functionality. But there is also a downside. Now, while the price itself for the units in retail would be around $600, with some discounts if you got it on a Kickstarter earlier, there is a thing that a lot of people forget or just don't know about. And that is when it comes to the online AI features of the Rokid Glasses, since these will make use of a subscription, unlike any of the other smart glasses that we've seen so far. So keep that in mind. And that gets us to the next one, which is the Meta Ray-Ban display. And these kind of take it up a level by having a high-resolution, full-color screen in one of the lenses compared to that green monochrome dual display, which as a result will give you also a bunch of extra options and new features. Now, it also has that 12 megapixel camera and speakers that you come to expect. Although, thanks to that full-color screen, you can now use it for something like previewing your photos and videos before you take them, or even hopping on a video call where you can actually see the other person. But by far, its most unique feature is that next to using your voice or the side of the frames to control your glasses, you can now interact with them thanks to their included neural wristband. And this piece of real-life sci-fi tech basically reads these signals that are going from your brain to your hand and then translates them into commands, such as upping your volume by pinching your fingers or typing a message by writing it on the surface. And the price of these, including the wristband, comes in at $799. Although, you won't be able to just buy these directly online, and instead you will need to get them fitted specifically in person in one of their stores. And since buying the prescription optics would make the price even higher, it might also be worth it to look for some cheaper third-party alternatives. For example, the ones from VRWave are nearly half the price of those from Meta, while actually having even more color options than the originals. And while these are just for the standard Ray-Ban frames, you can literally just push the old ones out and then swap them with the new ones yourself. And that can potentially save you a lot of money and time in the long run. So I'll also leave a link for those in the description below. And that gets us to the next one, which is the Ray Neo X2s. And these rock two full color displays, a high resolution camera and speakers, as well as the same AI features. But having two full color displays does make it a bit easier on the eyes. But while they come in at that same price of $799, they have been out on stock on their website for quite some time. And this is most likely to prepare for the next generation releases. Either way, we should also mention the XREAL One Pro here. Because while these have some really high-resolution screens built into them that let you play games or watch movies, they are very different from the other glasses that we've seen so far. And that is because these just represent an external screen in your field of view, meaning that you will always be tethered to a PC or phone, and that you won't have any AI features, photos, or video functions at all. So these type of XREAL glasses are much more suited for those people who only want to watch content from stuff like an external device. But that gets us to true AR glasses. Now these are capable of showing real virtual objects in front of you instead of just a flat screen. And a great example of this are these Snapchat spectacles. And yes, as you can see directly, the form factor is really bulky. But that is mainly because of the advanced tech that is used in it to make it even capable of actual augmented reality. So that means that these will let you do nearly anything that you can also do on a mixed reality headset. But then, while still being able to look straight through its lenses. Now to interact with everything, it uses the hand tracking from its camera feed so that you can command and touch the objects in your vision. But it is important to keep in mind that these are much more focused towards AR developers, with Snapchat charging a $100 per month subscription service for them just to be able to use it. So that is far beyond any consumer-ready product. Now we should also mention here the Magic Leap 2. However, while they are AR glasses that on release were a pretty unique concept, the company hasn't shown any product recently anymore or shared news on the development of making another, making most to believe that they are slowly shutting down their doors, including the support for their older headsets. And while very sad, this is similar to what happened into the Microsoft HoloLens situation, which was definitely massive in size but seemed to have so much potential before it got taken down. But not all is doom and gloom. For example, Meta has already shown us one of their working prototypes known as Orion, and these have full AR capabilities while also trying to keep that slim looking glass form factor, and all that on top of its standard smart features like cameras, AI, and speakers, while working with the new neural wristband that we also saw in the Meta displays. And it kind of makes these the ultimate spectacles out there that you can get. However, that is exactly the problem, because at this moment, these are not a fully released product yet, with the prototypes costing nearly $10,000 to make. So it might be a little while before we get our hands on a consumer-ready version of this. And until then, we have the alternatives going from the more expensive Meta displays all the way to the Ray-Ban smart glasses. But that's not all, because if you want to see an even more detailed comparison between the Ray-Ban Meta Gen 1 and Gen 2, then click on the video that you see on screen right now to make sure you don't miss out on that. And of course, stay awesome.